Researchers have discovered a crater beneath the Antarctica ice crust 482 kilometers in diameter. Holy, it's like an order of magnitude bigger than the dinosaur one, right? Yeah, that's like a 99 whatever per extinction event. The release of ancient viruses from flying ice, secret military operations dating back to World War II, and technology being used to contact extraterrestrials. There may be much more going on in Antarctica than you think. These are some of the strangest Antarctica anomalies. Eric Hecker, a former Ron Eric Hecker's Hidden Technology Claims Technologies Corporation employee, made a controversial statement about his experiences in Antarctica at a United States UFO disclosure meeting. Hecker claimed that he'd seen, quote, powerful machines in Antarctica that could potentially be used to, quote, contact alien crafts in deep space. He referred specifically to the IceCube Neutrino Observatory, a scientific facility in the South Pole, which she said wasn't just a listening device as it was advertised. According to Hecker, the device has the capacity to transmit signals and in fact may be part of a much larger and more secretive operation. He even went as far to say that the facility is, quote, the world's largest direct energy weapons system. So could there be some crazy hidden technology and government projects going on in the icy tundra of the Antarctic? And if so, could some of it come from somewhere beyond Earth? UFOs in Antarctica, it just goes UFOs together, surprisingly. Well, and back in February, UFO enthusiasts claimed to have discovered what looks like a crashed extraterrestrial on a 6-mile-wide island called Hummock. The object, which some internet users believe to be a UFO, looks sort of like it has a dome-top wide rim, sort of a metallic appearance, maybe seems to measure around 12 m in width. The image of the object first showed up on Reddit and it got people talking. Some are convinced that the shape and smoothness of the object can't be, or is at least very unlikely to be, a natural formation. There's comments like it's obviously a craft. Look at how smooth the curvature is. Another commenter wrote, if being eroded by a wave it would not keep a consistent shape like that, and certainly not poking out the opposite way and even indenting in behind it, forming a perfect circle. The ones saying that it's ice are completely ignoring these facts. This is a wonderful find, end quote. Now of course others are dismissing it as just an interesting looking block of ice. But what do you all Operation Tabarin think? Operation Tabarin was a top-secret British mission during World War II which ran from 1943 to 46. Its goal was to secure British control over parts of Antarctica that were contested by Argentina and Chile. To do this, the British set up permanent research arch stations and conducted scientific work while also providing postal services and supporting weather observations, which were important for Allied shipping routes in the South Atlantic. The operation kicked off in 1943, right in the middle of the war, after the British government approved it. The team, led by Lieutenant Commander James Maw, set off from the UK in November that year, and by early 1944 they'd established 2 main bases. In 1944, Captain Andrew Taylor took over the operation after Maw had to step down due to illness. New bases were set up. Then they also brought sled dogs to help with the work and extended their research on the Antarctic mainland during the winter months of 1944 and 45. The teams at the base faced extreme conditions, with 14 men staying through the winter in 1941 and 1944 and 21 the following year. By March of 1946 the mission came to an end though, and the work was handed over to the Fallen Islands Dependency Survey, or the FIDS. This laid the foundation though for what would later become the British Antarctic Survey, or BAS, which still carries out scientific research in Antarctica to this day. But some think there's more to the story than what's been officially released. Some think Operation Tabarin also had a lot to do with monitoring a secret base built by the Third Reich. Now, while it is 100% true that the secret base Germans had disguised ships sailing the Pacific to disrupt Allied shipping, some straying into the colder waters of the South Pole, there have also been rumors for decades that they established a secret base on the mainland. This theory goes way back to the aftermath of World War II and is often tied to ideas about high-ranking German officials escaping to Antarctica after the war, including the leader himself. The story got more attention when people claimed that a German U-boat was spotted in the South Atlantic in July of 1945, just months after Germany's surrender. The rumor really started to pick up in 1947 when a Hungarian named Ladislas Sabo suggested that the Germans had built a hidden base in Antarctica, possibly as a refuge or secret base to continue carrying out their work. The Germans did 100% briefly visit Antarctica in 1939, supposedly. It was only for a short time as part of a surveying expedition, but could they have established something more permanent? It's possible. Now, Antarctica today might be a fossils frozen wasteland, but it wasn't always that way in the distant past. Long before it was covered by thick ice, Antarctica was a lush, warm region. It was actually full of rainforests. There had been fossils discovered in the area that show millions of years ago the continent was full of tropical trees, forests, and it was full of Animal life. One of the most fascinating discoveries are the fossilized wood and leaf imprint fossils from marine creatures, birds, even dinosaurs from the Cretaceous period have been found. It's hard to imagine now, but at one time Antarctica was very biodiverse. Scientists have also found the preserved four wings of beetles that lived between 14 and 20 million years ago and tiny single-celled fossils, and here's a really strange one: they've even found 50 million-year-old sperm cells on the egg case of an extinct species of worm. But you don't need to look to the underground lake's distant past to find fascinating ecosystems in Antarctica. Turns out that beneath the ice sheets there's an entire network of underground lakes. In 1970, scientists first detected the existence of these lakes using radar technology, and it turns out there are about 400 subglacial lakes scattered across the continent. The lakes are found under several kilometers of ice, and they've been kept liquid because of the intense pressure from the ice sheet above it. The weight of the ice actually prevents the water from freeing despite being in Antarctica. One of the most famous of these lakes is Lake Vto, which was discovered by Russian scientists in the 90s. It is the largest subglacial lake in Antarctica and the third largest lake in the world by volume, sitting about 3 and 1/12 kt or over 2 miles under the ice. What makes Lake Vto especially cool though is that it's been sealed off from the outside world for over 20 million years, but in recent years scientists have drilled into the ice to get samples from the lake and other subglacial lakes in Antarctica, and they found some cool stuff in 2014. For example, scientists studying Lake Whillans nearly a kilometer beneath the ice found this active ecosystem of microorganisms living in the lake. The tiny creatures have been totally isolated from sunlight and fresh air for millions of pyramids years. Is what you're looking at here a natural formation? Well, it's fun
T-10
to imagine
9,
that it isn't, that at some
8,
point in the distant
7,
past pyramids similar to the ones
6,
in Egypt were
5,
built by some long-lost
4,
civilization
3,
in Antarctica.
2,
And to be fair, there are
1.
some pretty incredible looking pyramid-like
Ignition.
formations in Antarctica that
Liftoff
look almost
of
too
Ares
perfect to be
1S.
naturally forming,
Testing
but the pyramid-like
concepts
structure
for
is
the
officially
future
part of a
of
mountain
new
range called
rocket
the Ellsworth
design.
Mountains, the highest mountain range in Antarctica. They were first discovered during the British Antarctic expedition of 1910 to 1913. A mountain peak poking out of the ice, certainly less interesting than an ancient Allen pyramid, so I don't think the rumors and speculations are going anywhere, especially because there's lots of other strange stuff said to go on in frozen bacteria Antarctica. But here's something really unsettling about the region: all the dangerous stuff frozen in the ice that could cause problems if it were to thaw out. Scientists have dug up ancient ice cores and found bacteria that have been frozen solid. These bacteria can go into kind of a deep freeze mode where they don't really do anything but sit waiting for better conditions. When the ice thaws, these bacteria can sometimes wake up, if you will, and start growing again. Though in 2007 scientists in Antarctica found microorganisms trapped in ice that had been frozen for up to 8 million years. The tiny lifeforms were stuck in the ice, basically in a deep freeze, and when they were brought back to the warm lab they began coming back to life and started to grow frozen viruses again. Scientists have also found old viruses frozen in layers of ice and permafrost. These viruses could be tens of thousands of years old, preserved in a state of suspended animation again, though they can potentially come back to life if the ice melts. When researchers thaw out samples from the ice, they can sometimes get these ancient viruses to reactivate. Seems like a bad idea, but understanding these viruses helps scientists learn more about how life and pathogens have evolved over time. Of course, though, there's a lot of risk involved in these viruses being released in an uncontrolled way. Could be very, very bad. Kimberly Miner, a climate scientist at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory at the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, say that 5 times fast. Well, she had this to say: there's a lot going on with the permafrost that is of concern, and it really shows why it's super important that we keep as much of the permafrost frozen as possible. No ancient DNA. Kidding. Alright, so in 2019 a team of researchers made a pretty mind-blowing discovery in the Scotia Sea just north of Antarctica. They were part of the International Ocean Discovery Program, and while they were drilling into the seafloor they ended up finding ancient DNA buried about 584 feet under the ocean floor. The researchers were able to figure out that this DNA was about 1 million years old, making it the oldest DNA ever discovered in seafloor sediments. Before this, the oldest DNA found in the sediments was only about 650,000 years old. So yeah, they SH that record. You might think it's crazy that DNA could survive for so long, especially sitting at the bottom of the ocean, but Antarctica's cold temperatures helped preserve it. Plus the deep sea doesn't get much sunlight, so the DNA wasn't damaged by harmful UV radiation like it would be if it were exposed on land. The big mystery, though, is what species this DNA came from. The researchers aren't entirely sure yet, but they know it's not from a virus or bacteria, so this discovery opens up all sorts of cool possibilities. What kind of life was living in Antarctica a million years ago, and what else could be hidden deep beneath the ice and ocean? Only time and more research will tell. And with all that said, I've been your host, James.